Cheech here with Fly Fish Food, and I have an awesome fly to show you today. It's a Stonefly I've been working on that uses some really cool techniques. It does take a long time. Check the comments. People are going to be pissed off that it took too long to tie. I'm just going to break it off.
Dude, that's a big brown.
Okay, this is a very cool fly. I'm excited to tie it for you, and just buckle up because this is not going to be a short fly. And yes, this is kind of a takeoff of like a Kaufman style stone, number one. Number two, it's way too complicated to like fill a whole box. I understand this, and I'm willing to take those risks. So those comments you're going to put down there that this is way too much work just to snag it on a rock, I get it. But buckle up because we're going to art class today, and we're going to do something super cool. This is a Stonefly that has, let's see, this one turned out pretty cool. I'll just throw this one in here. Stonefly that has cool wing cases, all custom built. The body has a Polish weave. And on this one, I forgot to put antennas on it, but you would never have looked at that until I told you. So we're going to tie this bad boy. And it's pretty cool. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm just going to show you how to build the lead body, the lead version. And then I'll show you what a proper tungsten version looks like as soon as I get this put together. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to get lead wire or lead-free wire. I just use lead wire because I've never been able to find it for free. That was a bad dad joke. But anyway, I'm going to use 030, 025, 020, 015, and 010. We're just going to use it all, okay? And I'm going to show you how to, maybe one cool way to build a body out of lead. Or lead-free wire if your heart so desires. There's another comment I know that's coming. So you can choose for yourself. You don't know if it's lead-free or lead. So there you go. I'm going to tell you that it's lead-free because that's the right thing to do. All right, so I am going to start out by just wrapping a big fat midsection of the 030 to about right here, and I'm going to grab it and wiggle it and pinch it off. And on this one, I like to grab it with my right hand. Your left hand's going to have to get good at doing that pull and break. I don't know if there's a technique for it, but you kind of have to pull on the lead as you're wiggling it. But anyway, this hook, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. This is called the Tactical Big Bug hook with a non-reflective black finish. It's very slick. It's barbless. It pokes fish. I've showed these flies to a few people, and a couple of them have got them stuck in their hands. So anyway, that's a cool hook. It's a very slick shank though, so you're going to want to throw some super glue on there, and we're on to the next step. Now that centerpiece is kind of braced, and I'll wipe some off with my finger and wipe it on Brigham's chair, I'm going to take one size smaller, or two sizes smaller actually. This is 020, and I'm just going to come in here and wrap up to the 030 and do the same break off. So you can see I have a cool little taper started. I'll take some 015 and I'll throw that in here close to the head. And I'm going to show you something cool. I'll break this portion off first, the front hanger. Break that off. I'll tag that with some super glue. Might as well do that one too because it's new. All right, so once that's glued down, take this other wrap and you can just wrap it over the top of itself. So you can see all kinds of cool things you can do with lead. Is it too much work? Yeah, probably. All right, now let's build a little bit thicker area in the thorax. So I'm going to take more 020 and I'll start it about right here. And I'm just going to put that into the gaps of the 030, and you can see it leaves little spaces here. Same way I break everything else off. Break that one off. I can be all hands now because I showed you how to do it. All right, I'm going to come in here and glue over the top of those. And I got a little crazy in there. That's all right. We'll cover that all up. You can also come in. I'm going to show you one more cool thing with that. So we did 020 over the top of the 030, and now you can go in with some like 015 and put more lead into those gaps. And I'll just cover this bad boy up too. All right. So at the end of the day, just build up a body however you want it to look. With Stoneflies, you know, they're not crazy tapered. They have a real thick back section, so kind of easier to taper that way. So I showed you this because it's maybe the hardest, you know, way to build up the body. This is how I've been doing it, right there. You just put, those are 4.5 millimeter beads, tungsten beads, and you can use lead and beads to build up a taper of your body. So you do all kinds of bodies like that. You can pre-make them, and then it makes it a little bit quicker to tie. But we're not here to tie them fast, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is take some thread, and I'm going to cover this all up, okay? So I just have, I think this is Uni Big Fly thread. It's 400 denier, but anything will work, even if you want to use old yarn. But essentially, you're just going to get this bug and start smoothing out this taper that you just built, okay? So I'm going to counter wrap my thread as it cords up, and not a lot of pressure, and I'm just going to do kind of loose wraps because you can still kind of displace the lead if you put a lot of pressure on it. So lots of unspinning. I'll make a little ramp down the back of this. And then we have another big junction right here where my thread is. So I can just go back and forth right here and build up a little bit of an angle. Same thing right here. And you can see the super glue kind of seeps out, and that's good because it just gets everything to play nice. And this doesn't have to be a perfectly flattened body, right? This is more of the dad bod style. And a little bit of extra curves that aren't traditional. That's what we're going for here. All right, so it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. I mean, you could, but you're going to use a lot of thread and a lot of time. So that's good enough. So the reason why we do that is because if you do that with like 140 denier, you'll use a whole spool of thread in an hour to get it built up like that. All right. So off goes the thread. On goes the thread that we're going to use for the rest of the fly, which is UTC 140 or Danville 140 or whatever thread you like and whatever size you like. It works. Okay, I use 140 because there are certain parts of this thing where we got to really crank down on it. Okay, the legs on this are going to be the Flex Floss from Fulling Mill. The thing I like about this stuff is you notice how curly they are. They're not curly. They're very, very straight. Kudos to you guys. That's not a very easy thing to do, apparently. All right. I am going to take one of these, and we're going to make the tails first, okay? So I'm going to take my thread to about right here, and I'll tie in about that much, and I'm going to tease that other side over opposite from where I'm sitting, and so that pushes this span flex or the whatever the flex floss on the opposite side, and then I can just pull the other one toward me, and it ends up on my side of the hook. And now if I come back here and trim those both at the same time, I have a little split stonefly tail. All right. The next step is attaching what we're going to weave. All right. So I have chosen this Semperfli Dirty Bug yarn in mottled olive and in black. When you're playing with this Polish weave, what I would say is get enough material. I think I've probably got about 10 or 12 inches of that stuff. And I like to have equal lengths because this weave is it's not easy. It makes your brain tell you you're doing it wrong, but you're really not. Okay, so On this fly, I want the lighter color on the bottom and the darker color on top. And so I'm going to take the lighter color, which is this mottled olive, and I'm going to tie it on the far side of the hook shank and run that all the way down. And you can see how I can angle that with my fingers so that it places down perfectly on that opposite side of the hook shank. Go up here and do the same thing with the black on the other side. And so this is kind of cool because you can build out that flat type body that a stonefly has with this. You can see there's just a little bit of flatness that's building into that body. All right, so we're ready to weave. I'm going to whip finish my thread, and we're going to switch the camera angle, and we're going to get weavy. Okay, so as you can see, I've turned my vise toward me. You could just undo the knob, but we're making a video and I want to make this as easy to follow as possible. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fly and kind of angle it down, except for that's too far. I'm going to try to make this so that it's still easy to see and follow. This is what we're going to be weaving, okay? So this is the Polish weave. In my right hand, I've got the lighter color that's going to go on the bottom, and in my left hand, I've got the black that's going to go over the top, okay? Now, if you're doing this correctly, these will never leave your hands. You keep them in your hands the whole time. That's how you know you're getting it right. And so let's just get into it. The body's already pre-tapered, and this is a really good technique for something like this where you're covering up a ton of metal, you know. So I've got, I think these two flies here that I showed you, exact same profile. One's lead and one has 3 tungsten beads on it. So you can vary your weight a lot. All right, but the Polish weave allows you to make a thin body over the top of a big bug, and you can hide a lot of stuff. All right, so step 1, dark color over the top, okay? The lighter color is going to cross over and underneath, and I like to pull up on it, okay? From here, the top color is just going to come over and underneath the light color. We'll do a skill builder on this with really bright thread or yarn. From here, the light color goes underneath, and I like to hold it up slightly because it puts tension on this little knot here, because I might slightly lose tension on it as I move this across, okay? The other thing is I move the top color across, I'm going to go slightly back, just like this, which creates kind of a tension for that undercolor, okay, to go in. This is really hard to do, as I explained. And if you have to redo it like I just did, it's not as easy as it looks, okay? So here we have it, top color over the top, catch it, go under with the light color, over the top with the dark color. And from here, we just start cooking. We'll do a skill builder and really break this down with a bunch of different materials, but I recommend you do this with wool to start out with, because it doesn't slip on the hook shank, okay? Now, you can notice that I went up pretty far, further than the body's going to actually be. And we're going to turn it over, and that's what it looks like on the bottom. So it's a really super cool effect, especially on stones. All right, so when you're ready to tie it off, what I do, I'm going to just turn my vise like this again. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to hold these two in my left hand. You want to keep tension on them. Just pull upward and they won't do anything. Grab your hand with a little bit of thread in your fingers and just start tying that thread in, and that way I tied my thread in without losing tension here. Again, I said this is a pain in the butt fly. Oh, see, and it just slipped on me too. No big deal. All right, let me hurry and get this tied down and stop talking before I ruin it. Okay, so on this step, see how I have these two little tags? I'm going to just tease those up the side. Gives me a little bit of extra flat profile. And then we'll just get rid of those. And our Stonefly body is made. So check that out. It's a super cool technique you can do with a whole bunch of different stuff. So now I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to go back to about right there. Okay. So another cool thing that we're going to do is when I started playing with this this mottled olive dirty bug yarn, there really wasn't a dubbing that matched it. So right now I'm going to show you how to match this dubbing with some Fulling Mill Eco Warrior dubbing. I really like this Eco Warrior dubbing from Fulling Mill. It's a dubbing that's like, it's super buggy. And so I'm kind of looking at this and I'm seeing, actually, there we go. I'm seeing a lot of colors. I'm seeing some orangey colors, so I'm going to take this rusty orange. I see some natural in there, so I'm going to take this light hare's ear. And I have black on my fly. I'm just going to throw black in because, and maybe some brown and olive. It has some Kelly green in there, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't see that, and we're just going to throw olive in it as well. So, we'll show you how to do it. We're going to take a little pinch of the black dubbing, maybe a little more. I want it to be dark-ish. We're going to take another little pinch. Oops. We're going to take another little pinch of the olive. And nextly, these bags are very durable. That's what I'll say. Got to open them with scissors. Just a pinch of the natural, I think. Let's see, a pinch of the orange. Orange, and this is just a little bit. You can make a bunch. And then to darken this all up and not have it be super black, I'm going to put in some of this dark brown. All right, so there's what we're mixing up. Here's my coffee grinder. In it goes. Okay, and you don't need to chop this up forever. It's not even going to chop. Watch. 2 little mini pulses. I don't want this to cut any of this. I want the length. So check this out. We have a dubbing, and while it's not a perfect match, it's pretty dang good. Okay, so that is the dubbing that we will put on this fly. Okay, now it's time to tie in some wing cases and legs and call it good here. So here's what we'll do. All right, so check this out. I'm going to take some of this dubbing that we just blended, and I'm going to use several different dubbing techniques on this fly, but this is just your good old standard twist her on tight and wrap her down. Okay, so we're going to twist her on tight, we're going to wrap her down, just like that. And we're going to throw some legs on at this point. To tie the legs, you're going to just take these, and I'm going to show you the wrong way to do it. So if you take one of these Life Flex legs and you tie it in a knot, you can see I didn't tie it super tight. That's what we're looking for. If you over tighten that thing, it's just going to make a straight leg. They're not like round rubber. They will maintain that knot, so don't over tighten your legs. And so sit down or maybe teach your kids to do this because, let's have a look here. I got ready and I tied a whole bunch of legs and stuff. So here's a big mess of rubber legs that I'm going to pick from. If you're going to tie a bunch of these, I'd highly recommend it. Okay, so we're going to tie in 2 back legs. So what I did with the dubbing here is I just made a bump so that my legs don't go straight back like this. I want them to kick out like at a 45. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this leg next to that bump and hope that it's going to sit right. Almost. I'm just going to take this and maybe move this down. Anytime you adjust a leg, it has potential to not do what you want it. So I like where that's sitting, just like that. I'm going to grab another one, and another little hack is if you tie a bunch of these legs and then lay them flat on your table, if they sit nice and flat, that means they're going to probably tie in and angle exactly how you want. Now, I have a theory on stoneflies. The theory is it's chaotic symmetry, okay? So stoneflies are chaotic by nature. They're just moving around. They have an exoskeleton. They have big gnarly legs going every way. But they also have a very precise abdomen, thorax, legs, all that stuff. So you can tie in 6 legs, 3 wing cases, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you can still make your bug look super gnarly. So see this guy? I even tied the wing case so that's crooked. So he looks like he's kind of crawling around there. And I'll show you that technique later. But keep in mind, as you're tying these, they don't have to be perfect. You're looking for that chaotic symmetry. I just coined that today, and I liked it. Right? That's what fly fishing is. Maybe I've been thinking too much about this. Nah. What I'm going to do now is take a little bit more of this dubbing, and I'll just cover up those thread wraps. And be very careful when you wrap around those legs in that general area, because those nice angles don't like to stay nice for very long if you start hammering down with a bunch of thread and stuff. So I'm going to see, I put those 2 wraps on my legs, right in front of the legs, and the first thing I do is let them go so I can see how they sit. I like that. That will work. All right, so there we sit with our legs. I'm going to trim those up right now just so I can have a better visual on how it's going to look. So those backmost legs will look just like that. Okay? They look really dumb right now. They look like a T-Rex that's got his arms behind him trying to like run fast. Oh my gosh, that's how my brain works. Okay, I have some 8mm fulling mill scud skin in black. You can use tan, brown if you want. Probably not tan, brown or black. And it's a stretchy stuff, like scud back. I'm going to take this and cut a notch in it. Just like that. Oh, one of my points didn't quite get the memo. Hold on. We are making an art video today. Boom, there you got it. So I'm going to just lay this right on top of this whole thing, make it kind of go back over the body a little bit, and don't hammer down too far right on this because it will crease. Not the biggest of deals. And you see how that wing case didn't sit perfectly centered? I'm cool with that. I'm going to let it ride. I'm going to let it show its personality, until it starts paying its own mortgage. I can let it do whatever it wants. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the excess here and wrap this forward. Okay, now we're ready for more dubbing and legs. Okay, so we're going to take another pinch of dubbing, just a band, and again, the reason why we put dubbing on here is because we want those legs to kick off the fly at a proper angle. Maybe a little bit more. All right, so now we put on some more legs in the same fashion that we did before, but these legs are going to be a little bit shorter. And if you have to adjust the legs, you can see that I'm moving them back and forth with my fingers like this. They like to rotate when you do that, so you got to be real careful. I screwed that all up, so in this case, I'm just going to pull that right back off, and I'll try to put it on there exactly where I want it. You know what? This is good that this is happening. So what's happening is my thread's way too slick to grab stuff, okay? It's not wanting to hold. So I'm going to take some wax, and I'm just going to wax my thread. And just kind of tease that on there with my fingers. And also I'm going to wax this part that's being stubborn. I should have done this beforehand. It just adds a little bit of tack to everything. Wax is a little pasty. Call it a John Stockton wax. There we go. So that leg's sitting real nice. And we'll trim him off and put another one in there. But yeah, don't be afraid to pull stuff off and retie it. I mean, it's nice when it goes on the first time, kind of like this one just did. But it's what happens when you give yourself reps and practice. Like, don't be satisfied with a crappy fly. Put some work in. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of super glue here. You don't want to put too much because if it gets into your legs, they can kind of do dumb things. Okay, at this point, I'm going to bug up this thorax quite a bit. And to do that, I'm going to add a dubbing loop of this same dubbing. So I'm going to make a dubbing loop. It's real critical to close this loop off because the body's so thick right here. All right, so, and this Eco Warrior stuff's great. It's so buggy, I've been tying leeches and everything with it. So you're gonna take a pinch of dubbing, a couple pinches, and you're gonna just build a nice little dubbing loop here. It's going to be pretty thick and buggy. So you can see I'm not really trying to line it up too perfectly, but about like that. You can see that's gnarly, buggy dubbing. So when I twist it up, it just kind of turns into dubbing hackle. All right, so on it goes. Mind the legs if you can. That looks pretty good, just like that. And then just one wrap in front of the next. You can see how awesome this dubbing looks at this point. All right, and so here's another little hack. I don't want to mess with a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff now that can get moved out of place, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap my thread around my dubbing tool a couple times, then a few wraps, and it ties it off. Okay, let's finish this bad boy off. So I'm going to wrap back up toward the other wing case a little bit. And the reason for this is because stoneflies actually have pretty small heads, so they don't. That's why I chose to put the weight in the body of this, so it looks a little more natural. I'm going to take a brush and push some of those fibers to the sides now, and now I'm going to tie in. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I'm glad I caught this. A very important step. We're going to put resin on this wing case. Let me get this out of the way. Definitely easiest if you do this before you move past it, but check this out. I'm going to take some thin resin. I'm just going to put it right on top of here and just paint a real thin amount. It'll stay on pretty well. I think eventually it'll fall off on a fish, but you got to fool them with a real cool looking bug. Oh no, there's a hair in there. Big time hater. Get out of there. Can I grab it without ruining? Yes. All right, so look how nice and self-leveling that got. Sometimes when you hit this, it kind of puts a little bit of curl in it. You can see how it moved a little bit. And this is what kind of jogged me, or my memory, or it kind of inspired me to make these a little bit imperfect like that. So as I put the other two wing cases on, you'll see. All right, that's good. I'm going to extra cure this bad boy. Okay, so here we are cured. I'm going to brush that back out. Now for the final wing case they're both tied in at the same time. All right, again, I'm going to cut a little notch here. Again, I'm going to wax this because I really want a lot of grip as I put this next step on. So now we're good and tight. I'm going to take this piece, and I'm see how I could put it straight on. I'm going to kick it over a little bit, like right there, just a little bit. He's thinking about going for a swim over there, but he's not sure. Okay, you can see how I'm kind of struggling with this, so I'm going to take it off and put it back on until it seats down just right. Okay, I like that. I like where that's sitting quite a bit. So, I'm going to now take my thread and wrap it to the eye, and then I'm going to wrap back a little bit onto this wing case. So I have a nice kind of bulb here. Oh, that wing case kind of moved over far, but it's going to look awesome because I'll put the other one on the opposite side. Okay, so chaotic symmetry. We have an awesome wing case, but we're tying it on crooked on purpose because that's what that old stonefly is going to do when he wants to go eat something, you know. So he's getting ready to hang a left. Okay, what you guys didn't see is I forgot to tie in those antennae, so I had to mash some thread down in there. You're supposed to tie these in before you tie this second piece in, and I'm not going to redo the whole fly just for that, okay? So, sorry, but this is what we do. At this point, I'm going to take a little bit of dubbing, and I'm just going to kind of mash it up and tie it in a clump on top and fold it over the top of itself, and it just gives a little bit of separation to these wing cases that I'm putting in. Okay, that seems dumb, but it's something that I do. All right, we're gonna make up the head now. We want this to be kind of a dense head. We don't want it to just go squishy in the water, so I'm gonna dub up a dubbing noodle, kind of a loose dubbing noodle. Goodness, I promise I've dubbed before. There we go. See how ugly that is? That's a bad dubbing noodle. But if now I close this off and make a loop out of that, watch what I can do. So I'm going to take my thread now, and I'm going to take it back toward the body, and we'll twist up this dubbing loop. So see how nice and tight that is. It's a very corded up piece. And now I can use this piece to wrap over the top of itself to kind of make like a bulbous head type thing. And I want to leave a little space for thread behind that. Okay, right where my thread is. Okay, tie that off. Out it goes. And now we're going to pull this one over. And we want this wing case to be like that, okay? So we'll catch him right here and make a little bit of a thread band. And now we're going to trim this wing case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want this one to be about, judging on the other one, it's going to go about halfway up the other wing case, that big, okay? So cutting the notch in this one's tougher, because I can get this cut in like that, and then I flip it forward to make the other cut, because otherwise you almost have to take it out of the vise. Boom. So there we have it, wing case in, and now we're going to put some resin over the top of this bad boy. Okay, again, it self-levels, and you can see that other dubbing in there just kind of breaks up, spaces them out. Like that. There we go. Check that out. That looks gnarly. Like, this dude's pissed off. He means business. All right, let's finish him up. All right, so we're going to tie on some other legs in the front here. They'll look about like that. And the reason why you need so much weight on this fly is because there's so many appendages on this. Like, it's not going to want to sink at all. Okay, so we're adjusted down. Length looks good. And trim, trim, trim. And now just like a hand whip because we're being fancy and classic. And the whip finisher might get in there and disrupt stuff. This is one you definitely want to throw a little bit of finishing glue of your choice and preference. All right, so the final step on this fly is this. Not super critical, but to give it more of that flat profile that we worked hard to maintain this whole fly, I'm just going to come out here and pick out the belly. And if you really want it to stay like that, you can put some sort of glue, fixative resin under there. But anyway, that is my version of a woven stonefly. Sorry for boring you so long, but hopefully you view it as a challenge and give it a try.